Okay, this is a fight that I've been working on for quite some time. Let's make sure I get everything kind of closed out, that I don't miss many issues. Now, with this fight, it's been going on for a while as to how in the world I would try to do a Plutonian, who of course is from Mark Waid's fantastic read Irredeemable, as well as Incorruptible. Pretty much he's a Superman-like character who's a villain. I have to put that in quotes because if you haven't read Irredeemable, I'm going to spoil the origin of his powers between now and the end of this video. Taking on Superman. To my knowledge, this is New 52 Superman. It's a hard thing. I'm trying to find the pictures because as we go from New 52 to Rebirth, they don't tweak the character design that much, but they seem to tweak the overall character power. So as long as we do this through the criteria, it ends up being 5-4. Person 5 more than likely could win. And with this one, given the origin of Plutonian's powers, there's a lot of room for debate and for wiggle in this. But we'll get right into it. Intelligence. Let me move my screen over here a little bit. So intelligence. I'm getting this from the Superman. Both of their overall origins are relatively the same when it comes to their overall upbringing. But Plutonian, where we get to him in Irredeemable, he is mentally unbalanced. There's a reason why he went from being the world's greatest superhero to the world's most dangerous villain. Probably because he's... If you read the book, you do find out that he's using his super hearing and super senses, and he's hearing all the people effectively just talk horribly about him. You're like, oh man, he's here. Oh, he's so dangerous. He's so scary. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? And you can tell he's gotten to the point where he's heard all of this cynicism, and he's tired of it. And there's another reason too, I won't get into because that's another large spoiler for the storyline. And he's pretty much had it. And that's why he's on a warpath. For fighting ability, both these guys are effectively brawlers. I've never seen Superman use a significant amount of martial arts training or anything of that nature. Probably because he doesn't really need it. And with Plutonian, again, he's also someone who probably is a brawler. When you're some of the more powerful people on the planet, you don't need to know a lot of fighting techniques because of how much power you have. Having said that, we're looking at Plutonian. You have two brawlers, but one fights with at least some level of moral compass, and the other one is a flat-out dirty fighter. Dirty fighter is going to have a slight edge. Strength. Getting to Superman. With this one, this is one of the issues where Plutonian is in less than 100 comics. So I don't really see a lot of tremendous strength feats. We do see him take an individual called Metal Man, who tears him in half, who seems not quite to be on the same level as like a Metallo. But New 52 Superman was actually able to rip Doomsday in half. So I'm looking at ripping in half a character that we don't really see a lot of background or build up, get torn in half, versus Doomsday, who at this time is a different style Doomsday than from the traditional one. Sounds weird saying traditional Kryptonian Death Beast. But we do know that Superman is able to face him and tear him in half and destroy him, which comes off as significantly more impressive than tearing apart effectively a robot. We also have more strength with Superman, whether it's carrying ocean liners, whether it's all the other really fantastical things we've seen him do. Just has a larger list of feats than what we see. Speed. Give speed to Plutonian. There's a scene in Irredeemable where Plutonian, he recognizes there's an explosive device. He takes the device up into space. And then he ends up hearing that other things are going on, and he comes back down. Now, as he's flying on Earth, he's taking out giant robots. He does it in a picosecond. Superman, while his travel speed, I'd probably say is equivalent to that of Plutonian, he doesn't go full out speed on the planet, where Plutonian will. Plutonian doesn't care. He's in sonic boom and he's in, wreck things that as he's moving as fast as he is, things around him are going to take the impact of just, that amount of speed going through at one point in time. Superman, he's going to do what he can to make sure that, I'm going to stop this guy. I don't want to go so fast that, My speed is making a contra, flipping over cars. I don't be smashing windows in areas. I don't have wind buffets. He's actually slowing down to minimize any sort of collateral damage. Plutonian don't care. At this point in time, he's like, no, you guys have treated me like garbage. I should have been the savior of this planet, but this is not the way you decided to treat me, so if I need to get from here to there, I'm going to get there as fast as I can, and I don't care about collateral damage. Invulnerability. With this one, we see Plutonian get hurt by an individual named Max Damage, whose character becomes more powerful with the less amount of sleep that he has. Who seems like most people put Max Damage in kind of like a Hulk, She-Hulk sort of category. And that character significantly hurts him. Again, going back to something that's relatively close to Hulk from a DC universe, will be his battle with Doomsday. And you do see Superman do a significant good job against someone like Doomsday, who also ends up having the ability to have like an incineration field around him, which is not harming Superman. So you see more feats of invulnerability. You see more things that Superman actually survive without taking damage. And we see Plutonian actually fairly early in the series get taken out by another individual. And since Plutonian, it's not designed to be about the fights, it's designed to be about the story. All the fights are kind of on the shorter side. So it does tend to lend to there's less invulnerability to Plutonian. And I know people are going to, and people are probably tapping in the comments, but Plutonian's powers actually allow him to have his density become increased to beyond the point of diamond while his opponent is becoming weaker. Therefore his invulnerability should be constantly going up. Yes. I'll get to that later. Durability, same thing again with Plutonian not having longer fights. And we do see he gets taken out and he gets attacked hard and knocked unconscious. And then he's taken away. I mean, he gets defeated quite a few times, which is weird for being someone of that level of power. He gets beaten. It also has a lot to do too with the exact origin of Plutonian's powers. And this is where we're going to get into more of the nitty-gritty of the character, so by all means, if you don't want to have massive spoilers for a book that's several years old, click away now. Now we're going to get into energy rejection. Yes, both Superman and Plutonian have heat vision and frost breath. The origin of the powers are vastly different. Where Superman's heat vision is effectively a redirected version of solar radiation, and for the frost breath, depending on how you want to look at it, some people look at the fact that as he's inhaling, he creates a strong enough vacuum within his lungs, and therefore it turns the small amount of humidity inside his lungs into frost, because as you take, if you take moisture at atmosphere, regular temperature, and you drastically reduce, depends on where you're looking at it, and you put a really strong vacuum on it, you can produce ice out of air. You also, at that same time too, depending on how much vacuum you have and amount of heat, you can actually take ice and transfer ice into vapor. Just sublimation. You can do the reverse as well. You can take vapor, and with a high enough amount of pressure and temperature differential, you actually can create frost. You can create ice, which effectively is ice breath. Plutonian's powers are actually based upon his ability to modify the kinetic energy of the molecules. So his heat vision is not coming from his eyes. It's his mind directing the kinetic energy of the molecules to increase their speed to produce heat. Well, now all of a sudden you're going from redirection of solar radiation to effectively manipulating the energy. But in his mind, he has heat vision. So it comes from right before his eyes going forward. When in actuality, it's not leaving his body, it's produced as a constant stream. It's just the way his mind looks at it. And why? Well, we don't ask its versatility too. And here's the mayor's why. Plutonian's abilities are that of a reality warper. He's just a poorly trained reality warper. As you read Irredeemable, after he gets taken back by, I think it's the Elios, that's when they then help fully give him access to his powers. And then he grows a sixth finger. And he can now see someone's entire history through their mind. Using their mind as a focal point, he can look into their future and their past. And he becomes a very good energy and matter and reality warper. It's when he can remotely activate bombs. Why? Because he can adjust reality. That's why, as you look at his power set is, oh no, see, that's just he's becoming stronger as opposed to becoming weaker. No. What's actually happening is, because he's controlling reality, he is not becoming stronger, they're becoming weaker. He's adjusting reality to make himself stronger and his opponent weaker. All of his powers are psionic-based reality warping. So as much as people say, oh, he's a Superman clone, no. And a really smart thing that Mark Waid did, because Mark Waid's really intelligent in these things, is he ends up having, when Plutonian is done, he sends up kind of like a mind wave, and which then makes Schuster and Siegel, sorry. It then makes them, it puts the mental image in their mind of Superman. So you have the corrupted image of Plutonian and his powers. Remove the corruption, adjust the powers, and you have Superman. Because Superman normally is considered to be effectively a solar battery. That's why it's the energy of the sun, which is what gives him his powers, and criminals only have it here on Earth. Unless, of course, you look at the fact that I think it's the one unified formula representation of Superman's powers, he actually is also a reality warper. He has the ability to ignore physics. That's why he can fly and catch somebody and not dip, or shred the person. That's why he can do all these fantastic feats of strength. That's why he can move as fast as he can without creating collateral damage. He effectively is manipulating the forces of physics, which would make him technically a reality warper. But we don't go into that level. It's no. The solar energy gives him powers. So technically now they're pretty much tied up, and the reason why they're tied up is because Plutonian is going to be a dirtier fighter who his speed is based upon how fast he thinks he is. His energy projection is based on how fast he thinks he is. His versatility, he uses heat vision to casually lobotomize people. He's willing to take his abilities, which even if he just has heat vision and frost breath, he takes them to levels Superman will not take them to. Now, if I did Superman with morals off, yeah, he wipes the floor with Plutonian. Because now it's not Plutonian's attributes, his benefits. If he's not caring about what's going on around, he's not worried about collateral damage. If this Superman's just in for the kill, yeah, he's going to rip Plutonian apart quickly and easily. Because at the early parts of the story, Plutonian doesn't know that he warps reality. Later on, towards the end of the run, that's when he comes back with kind of like a small alien gang with him. And the person who ends up beating him, or attempts to, I think it's Bete Noir, they're effectively channeling like planets into her. So they're using her ability to create like wormholes. So she's effectively devouring planets to give her enough energy to damage Plutonian. So as Plutonian actually gets better at his reality warping abilities, he pretty much is taking shots that Galactus would be dishing out. It's like Galactus eating the planet and then kicking you. That's the sort of damage that he can take as he gets higher and higher into his powers. Which is why, with psionic-based abilities, if Plutonian gets into his mind's eye, I can beat this guy, he will, because he warps reality. It's not how he trained it. If Plutonian if Plutonian goes get on the ropes and he just cannot figure out what to do against Superman, Superman's going to beat him easily and convincingly. It's all about what's going on with Plutonian's effectively warped mind. If he goes, I have to beat this guy, he will beat this guy. The reason why he loses lots of his earlier fights is because he's taking on people that he has worked with. And even though he should be at his maximum level, he has almost that like Kirby-esque sort of, I have all these powers but I don't deserve them, kind of like slight tinge in the back of his head, which, being a reality warper, anything that affects your subconscious mind and makes you think you're unworthy of winning the fight means you're going to lose the fight. But I think more often than not, like this, Plutonian's going to hit where he's going to dig his heels in. And he's going to be able to warp reality enough to make Superman weaker throughout the fight, making himself stronger. Once he starts doing some of those things, as the fight progresses, Superman has to beat him quick, easy, and decisively. As the fight goes on, and guess what? Plutonian's going to take him. It's all a matter of what Plutonian thinks he can accomplish. And I think that looking at the way they write the Plutonian character, if he doesn't have the guilt, he wins. If he has the guilt, he loses. Now again, Superman morals off, it's not going to matter. Because every ability that Plutonian has at his advantage, he loses. Oh, a dirty fighter. Superman, with no morals, is going to fight equally as dirty. But he's going to be stronger. He's going to take more hits. He's going to have higher level of durability. It's like, oh, I'm going to do really mean things with my heat vision, my frost breath. Superman did the exact same things right back to him. And he's going to press him, and he's going to push him. And once Plutonian goes, I hope I can beat this guy, then he's done. Because his powers will fail him, and he will be destroyed. Quickly and decisively by Superman. But seeing how Superman fights, and how he is, and just the overall moral of the character, he will beat Plutonian in the first round. He will offer to help him. In that moment of offering to help him, Plutonian's going to snap, he's going to go farther, he's going to go deeper, he's going to dig in, and he's going to win. Now, I thought about this a lot. I've been doing the podcasting for about 11 years. I initially only started doing the Marvel versus the comic fights, just do Marvel versus DC, the trade. I just wanted to do that series. I never intended for this to be a incredibly long. I've done 350 of these, including the Dragon Ball Z ones, the Star Wars ones, Marvel vs. DC, which is the bulk of them. And I'll be honest, I am exhausted with just the world of comics. A lot of that's because in the world of DC, there's New 52 Superman. We've rebirthed Superman. Depending on how you look at the independent individual characters, you had Initial Crisis, 2080 Infinite Crisis. Okay. In between those two, you had 0 Hour, which affected some things. So that's 3 different kind of. Yes, I had Hyper Time and Elseworlds. So you had other things thrown in there that were kind of tools to rewrite. And then after you had that, you then had the 1 year later. Then you went to Final Crisis, which tweaked some things here and there. And then you had Flashpoint, which tweaked things here and there. And then New 52, which tweaked things here and there. Which also had tweaks throughout the series. Then you had Convergence, which tweaks some things here and there. And then you had Rebirth, which again tweaks some things here and there. On the Marvel side, multiple character tweaks all over the place. You have people either been de-aged, or they've lost their powers, they got their powers back. Their past has been rewritten, or a version of them from the past came to the present, which then changed the way the character is viewed. Or they've been depowered, repowered. Characters have been repackaged multiple times. And it's really difficult to try to put some sort of concrete structure. It's like, how strong is Superman? However strong the writer wants him to be. How fast is he? However strong fast the writer wants him to be. There isn't like a set power of here, Superman is here. Wonder Woman is here. Shazam is here. It's everyone is here, and depending on what the story is, that's how strong the hero is, how strong the villain is. With doing the massive reboots almost every couple of years, it's difficult to find, okay, so what stories actually survived? What stories did not survive? What is canon? What is not canon? Which retelling of the origin is still accurate? What parts have been dropped? What parts have been kept? In the race to try to constantly keep bringing younger audience in, they've abandoned the older audience. I absolutely loved when Rebirth happened because it gave me the opportunity to jump out of comics, which was fantastic. I'm like, okay, I just need to read a little bit here and there, so I need to do these videos. I have enough of a basis to go, okay, now I understand. This character now does this, character now does that. What are the tweaks? What has been changed? Are we looking at a full back bound to ground zero? Or is it, well, we've taken aspects from this character and this character and this interpretation and throwing this on top of it? And having said that, I was thinking with Dragon Ball Z characters. I liked the original series. I've watched some of the movies only for the purposes of doing videos. With the amount of variations they have, it's like, okay, it used to be Super Saiyan 4 was the top. Then it was Super Saiyan God. Then Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. Now they have additional other power levels they can go to. Okay? If a person was if a person was already, like a planetary threat, they make them a threat to a solar system, and now they're, like a universal threat. Okay, well now they're a multiversal threat. As you constantly ramp up where they are, the continuity and coherence between all those points is entirely lost. And then it just makes it entirely, oh, well, I think this character could do this basis what he did here, and now he's 100 times stronger than when he was there. Assuming that it's a linear relationship and not logarithmic. A power level of 1,000, can do this, and a power level of 10,000 is enough to destroy some small planets. 100,000 is enough to destroy larger planets. Then once you get to 100 million, then you should be able to pretty much do a key scream and wipe out a universe in seconds. Okay, well that was at 100 million. Now he's at 2.5 billion. So what's that mean that you can do? Pretty much means that an errant sneeze should be enough to rewrite all of reality. Okay. It's also why certain fights, like Zatanna versus Scarlet Witch, I spent I don't know how many hours trying to figure out how in the world do you take a character who can say anything in reverse and make it happen. And a person whose abilities are hex magic, which then became, well, it's probability manipulation. Okay, on what sort of scale? Potentially global. Oh. It could be like a solar system level. Oh. So one person wields chaos magic, which is the ability to affect virtually anything within range of voice, if not farther. And another person has the ability to manipulate probability on a global scale. So you have two people who have hex magic or chaos magic, which are relatively equal depending on how you write them and how they're written. And they both have catastrophic global effects. With the only tiebreaker between the two of them is that when Scarlet Witch was in the DC Universe, she mentioned tapping into chaos magic was significantly stronger. Some people wish that they would have tied that moment back to her experience of chaos magic and having weaved that into, No More Mutants. That she absorbed that level of increased magic and having not known how to deal with it, it affected her mind in such a way that when she went to effectively do the No More Mutants, it's because she still had residual chaos magic. Even Quicksilver mentioned he's in the DC universe that as he tapped into the Speed Force, he became significantly faster. So it does mean there actually is enough differences between the way the universes are inherently set up that Quicksilver in the DC universe could become as fast as Flash. Where Flash in the Marvel universe would lose all of his speed, so there's no Speed Force for him to tap into. If I were to take Zatanna away from Chaos and put her into a neutral area, would she lose all of her powers? Where Scarlet Witch in the DC universe would become significantly stronger and more impactful. But those things are not cut and dry. You're looking at trying to take a bunch of abstract information and from that try to create a somewhat coherent idea and narrative to do a hypothetical combat between fictional characters. And in a lot of ways, it's an exhausting mental activity. So I'll probably be done doing the comic book stuff for a while. I actually have thought about doing more of the movie sort of things, and the wrestling one's a lot easier because I'm really into professional wrestling. And when it comes to the movies, those are a lot easier because you have, it's like, here is a static moment. You know, here's, this character is in this film for this long and does these things. How do you take that and correlate into this sort of, I guess, into, well, see, from my perspective, I'm pointing away from it, but I'm pointing to it on the screen. How do I take that and put it into this sort of format and make it such a way that it's palpable and it makes sense and I can take somebody along. Here's my thought process to how I got to this level. Where in the world of comics, I don't think there's a lot of thought process going into what they're doing with characters now.